I was 6 months pregnant with the most feared Mafia boss's baby, and his Italian family still thought I was only the nanny. That was about to change, and I had no idea what kind of danger would walk through his front door with him. My name is Beatrice Lombardo. 1 year ago, I was just a broke girl from Texas hunting for a steady paycheck. Tonight, I am standing in an Italian mansion that smells like pine and money, staring at the man I love while my hand rests over the small life kicking inside me. If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and comment where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. And trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's go back to hours before, where it all started. Warm yellow lights blur across the long hallway as I walk in from the cold. The carved wooden doorway frames the entire scene the same way to the first night I arrived. A tall tree glows behind Geraldo, each branch dotted with tiny gold lights. A chandelier shines above us and throws an amber reflection across the polished floor. The air feels too quiet for a house guarded by men with guns outside. Geraldo stands at the far end of the hall with Leo in his arms. The baby is dressed in a deep red onesie that makes his dark hair stand out. Geraldo looks like a man who could fight through a wall if he needed to. His shirt pulls across his chest, and his tattoos circle his arms in dark lines. He stares at me with a look that sits halfway between relief and panic. His phone is still in his hand. The screen lights his jaw as he lowers it. "They are coming," he says. His voice is low, controlled, the way it gets when something is already in motion. My grandmother, my uncle, my aunt, 2 of my cousins, all of them, they're already on a plane. I stop walking. The words feel heavy in the warm hallway. Tomorrow, he adds, they want to spend Christmas here. They want to meet Leo. They want to talk about my future. A respectable future. He looks down at the baby as if that softens it. My hand presses more firmly to my stomach. The child inside me shifts as if listening. And they still think I am the nanny, I say. The words come out steadier than I expect. Geraldo nods. His throat works as he swallows. He steps forward and adjusts Leo on his hip. The baby's eyes light up when he sees me, and he reaches out with a tiny hand. Before I touch Leo, Geraldo speaks. You need to wear the bigger sweaters again. The thick ones. The ones that hide everything. He tries to sound gentle. It only makes the guilt show in his eyes. And your things. In my room. They cannot be there. Fold what you use and put it back in the staff wing for now. For now, I repeat. It is only until things settle, he says. It is the same answer he used last month when I asked. And the month before that. And the month before that. Nana will not take this well. If she finds out before we are ready. I step closer. Leo reaches again, fingers open, wanting me. I slide my hands under him and lift him into my arms. The moment his cheek touches my shoulder, he lets out a soft sound of relief. His small hand pats my stomach. The movement sends a warm ache through me. When were you planning to tell them? I ask quietly. After the baby is born? After everything is already set in stone? After they have picked a woman they think should stand beside you? He closes his eyes for a moment. His jaw tightens. Beatrice, I am trying to protect you. By hiding me, I say. No, he answers quickly. By waiting for the right time. They think they know what my life should look like. They think they know what is best for Leo. They think blood and tradition matter more than anything. I will not let them tear you apart the moment they walk through the door. I look at him and see the truth. He is not afraid of his family hurting me with hands. He is afraid of them hurting me with words. I did not fall in love with you to live in the shadows, I say. I did not risk my job and my safety just to go back to being the girl who hands you the baby and walks out of the room. He steps closer and touches Leo's back, his fingers brushing mine. I know I'm asking too much, but we only need a little more time. Leo gurgles and pats my stomach again. Geraldo watches the movement with something warm and broken in his eyes. Then he pulls himself back to the topic. There is more you should know, he says. Enemies have been quiet lately. Too quiet. When things go silent in my world, it never lasts. Big gatherings draw attention. A full house sends a message, and people who want to hurt us watch for messages. Christmas is never simple in this family. The chandelier flickers, as if agreeing. Before I can answer, his phone rings again. The same phone number. He looks at it with a tight expression and answers. I hold Leo close and listen to the fragments of Italian I have come to recognize. When he hangs up, he looks at me without moving. "That was Nana," he says. "She does not want a hotel. She wants to stay here. All of them do. My entire family will be under this roof." The tree sparkles behind him. For a moment, the lights look too bright. Leo shifts in my arms and presses his forehead to my collarbone. The house feels smaller than it did a minute ago, and the quiet around us feels like the deep breath a storm takes before it hits. I look at the tree again and wonder if this will be the last calm night I spend in this house as just the nanny. And that is where our real story begins. I did not grow up anywhere near a house like this. I grew up in a small Texas town where the biggest building was the feed store and the loudest nights were the ones when the football field lights stayed on too long. My family did not have much. My father's repair shop never fully recovered after a storm tore through our town, and medical bills from my mother's illness pushed us into debt we could never climb out of. I worked wherever I could, babysitting, cleaning houses, diner shifts that left my feet aching. Every dollar went into keeping the lights on at home. When I saw the job listing that changed everything, I thought it was a mistake. Live in childcare, high salary, travel possible, no details, no names. The kind of ad most people skip because it sounds too vague to be real. I was desperate and tired of watching bills stack on the counter. I filled out the online form in my car outside the diner and hit send before I could talk myself out of it. The reply came 2 days later. A plane ticket, a contract, a simple note telling me a driver would meet me on arrival. I thought I was going to work for a wealthy family with a spoiled kid. I had no idea I was walking into the Romano world. The first thing I noticed when I reached the house was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the guarded kind. Men stood outside wearing earpieces. Cameras followed every step I took from the gate to the door. Inside felt like a mixture of old money and quiet danger. One of the housekeepers handed me a rough binder of rules and whispered, "Whatever you do, keep the baby calm." She said it like a warning. On my second hour in the house, I overheard 2 staff members in the kitchen. "How long you think this one will last?" 2 days, maybe 3. No one gets past a week. They called it the nanny curse. Leo had been born early and struggled with stomach pain that made him cry until his voice went hoarse. The rules were strict. The security team monitored every movement. The boss, Geraldo Romano, was cold, tired, and feared by his own men. Other nannies left in the middle of the night. One quit during her first shift. Another locked herself in a bathroom and called a taxi through tears. I almost turned around that first day, but the signing bonus hit my account before I could run. I met Leo that evening, a small red-faced newborn screaming so loudly I wondered how he had the strength for it. He kicked so hard the blanket slid off him. His tiny fist shook as if the world had already wronged him. I stood there stiffly, unsure what to do. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Geraldo stood in the doorway with a face carved from exhaustion. He looked nothing like the image he projects now. His shoulders drooped. Shadowed eyes. A man used to controlling everything except the one thing he wanted most. Silence. Peace. Rest for his son. He handed Leo to me with a strain in his voice. "Make him stop." I held the baby, and he only screamed louder. My heart hammered in my chest. I thought I would be fired within minutes. So I did the only thing I ever knew how to do. I sang. A simple Texas lullaby my mother sang when I was young. My voice shook at first, but Leo's crying slowed, then softened, then faded into tiny hiccups as he rested his cheek against my shirt. I felt Geraldo's stare like heat on my back. When I turned around, something small in his expression had changed. It was the first crack in the wall he kept around himself. That moment started everything. After that, I earned his trust one night at a time. I walked the halls at 2 in the morning with a bottle warming in my hand. I learned how to soothe Leo through the worst stomach cramps. I shared quiet jokes with the guards who softened when they saw how hard I tried. Sometimes Geraldo returned late carrying the smell of cold air and danger. He never said what he had been doing, but he lingered in the doorway and watched his son sleeping on my chest as if the sight held him together. There were small moments when everything shifted, like the night he walked in with a cut across his knuckles. I reached for the first aid kit without thinking. He sat while I cleaned the blood from his skin. He watched me the way people watch something they're not sure they deserve. Another night, I cried in the laundry room over a bill from home I could not afford to pay. He found me there even though I tried to hide it. He read the paper once, folded it, and placed his coat over my shoulders before walking out. The next day, the debt was marked as paid with no explanation. He never asked for thanks. The line between us broke for the first time after a scare near the property. A loud sound outside. Shouts at the gate. Doors slamming. I thought it was an attack and grabbed Leo before anyone told me to. I hid with him under the stairs until the guards cleared the area. When they told me it had only been a car backfiring, I almost packed my bags. My hand shook so much I could not zip the suitcase. But Leo woke up crying, reached toward me, and wrapped his fingers around my wrist. That single touch kept me in the house. Later, Geraldo came to my room. He told me I was the only one Leo responded to, the only one he relaxed around, the only one who stayed. His voice cracked once, almost too quietly to hear. We talked long after the house went silent. Honest words, frightening words, a softness from him that felt like a secret only I had earned. When he kissed me, it did not feel shocking. It felt like the end of a long road we had been walking without admitting it. Now I stand under this glowing Christmas tree, remembering the first night I held Leo. Remembering the nights Geraldo stayed in the doorway, watching both of us breathe. Remembering every quiet step that brought me here. And all I can think is this. If his family decides I am not worthy, everything I built in this house might disappear. That fear settles in my chest like cold air. And it is only the beginning. The next 24 hours move like someone hit fast forward on a life I am not ready to live. Morning starts before the sun. The house that usually hums in low, careful tones turns frantic. Doors open and close. Voices bounce off the walls. The scent of cleaning spray, garlic, and strong coffee mix in the air. Housekeepers polish every surface even though everything already shines. Fresh garlands go up along the railings. The chef barks orders in Italian while pots crash on the stove. In the courtyard, I see security teams double their patrols, dark figures moving through the snow with practiced focus. Extra cameras come out of storage. Wires snake along the ceiling where no guest will ever look. Geraldo is in motion from the moment his feet hit the floor. He stalks through the house with his phone pressed to his ear, switching between Italian and English as he arranges drivers, menus, and security patterns. When he finally corners me in the nursery, his gaze schemes over my body like he is measuring how much of me he can safely show. You remember what we talked about, he says. Yes. I pull the tan jacket around me and tug the zipper up a little higher. Underneath, I have on a cream knit top and the loosest jeans I own. The waistband rests under my stomach, which is getting harder to hide every day. You are Leo's nanny. That is it. His eyes soften when they drop to my belly and then harden again as he forces them away. If they ask about you, keep it simple. You started almost a year ago. You live in the staff wing. You help the baby sleep. Nothing else. Nothing about sharing his bed. Nothing about the child under my hand. Nothing about the way he looks at me when we are alone. I know the script, I say. My voice sounds calm. Inside, I feel like someone wrapped my nerves in wire. He steps closer and adjusts the collar of my jacket, as if the fabric is an excuse to touch me. Stay near Leo as much as you need to. Just be careful. My family will test you with their smiles. They will like me more if I spill coffee or less. I ask, trying to lighten the air between us. One corner of his mouth lifts. It is not quite a smile, but it is the nearest thing to it I will see today. They will pretend not to see you at all. That is how they handle people they think are beneath them. He leaves me with that, and the house keeps spinning. By late afternoon, the drive outside is cleared of snow and lined with cars belonging to men I do not know. The sky hangs low and gray. My breath fogs the window as I watch the first black sedan roll through the gate. Then another, and another. They are here, one of the guards says. I stand in the main hall holding Leo on my hip. His small hands grip my jacket. His eyes are wide and curious. The staff form a quiet line along the sides of the corridor. Geraldo waits at the front in a black coat, shoulders squared, face set in the smooth, controlled expression he wears like armor. The doors open and cold air rushes in with the family. Nana Lucia steps inside first. She is shorter than I imagined, but somehow fills the entire doorway. A wool coat wraps her small frame. A cane taps once on the floor as she looks up at her grandson. Her gray hair is pinned back, her eyes sharp and assessing. She reaches for Geraldo, and he bends so she can kiss both his cheeks. "My boy," she says in Italian. Her voice is thin but strong. At last, behind her comes a man with silver at his temples and the same Romano jaw. Uncle Raphael. Beside him, Aunt Julia in a dark coat and pearls. Two cousins follow, a tall young man in a fitted jacket and a woman with sleek hair and a cat-like gaze. They carry the same air of confidence. People used to being greeted, not introduced. Their hugs, rapid Italian, laughter that does not quite touch their eyes. They hand Nana her cane, take her coat, and step aside so she can see the hall. "It is good," she announces. "Warm, proper for the family." Only then does her gaze move farther down the corridor and land on me. For a heartbeat, neither of us moves. I stand there with a baby on my hip and a jacket hiding my stomach. She sees everything. I can tell. Her eyes shift from my boots to my hair to my face. Something like calculation passes through them. Then she nods once, a small acknowledgement, before turning back to Geraldo. "And where's my great-grandson?" she demands. Geraldo glances at me. "Here," he says. "Beatrice, bring him." The sound of my name in his voice steadies me. I walk forward, each step loud in my own ears. When I reach them, I keep my tone polite, neutral. "Nana Lucia, this is Leo," I say. She does not take him from me right away. First she studies my face again, as if she is looking for a clue she cannot see. Then she shifts her attention to the baby, and her entire expression softens. "Piccolo," she murmurs, reaching for him. "Come to your bisnana." Leo hesitates. He looks at me, then at her, then at Geraldo. At last he leans toward her. I transfer his weight carefully into her arms. She holds him with practiced hands, cooing in low Italian, bouncing him slightly. "This is Beatrice," Geraldo says. His voice carries to everyone in the hall. "Leo's nanny." The label slices away anything else I might be. Raphael gives me a courteous nod. Julia smiles in that way some women do when they're not really smiling at all. The younger male cousin tips his head, a glint of interest in his eyes that makes my skin crawl. The female cousin lets her gaze drift over my boots and jacket. "Texan, right?" she says. Her accent shapes the word. I could hear it from the stairs. "Cowboys and barbecue." "Yes, ma'am," I answer. "Texas." "Interesting choice, Cugino," she adds lightly, looking at Geraldo. "You always did have a taste for something a little different." Nana does not react, but I see the slight flare of her nostrils. She focuses on Leo again, lifting him higher. He lasts almost 30 seconds before his face crumples. His mouth opens on a wail. I step forward before I can stop myself. He likes to be close. I start, but Nana already tightens her hold. "Hush, Bambino," she says. "You are with family now." Leo's cries rise. He kicks, little fists flying. His gaze keeps darting toward me, wet and desperate. The sound digs claws into my chest. "Here," I say softly. "May I?" Nana's eyes snap up. For a moment, I am not sure if she will hand him over or will tell me to stand down. Then Leo lets out a sharp, broken cry that makes her flinch. She exhales, irritated, and passes him back. The moment he hits my shoulder, the crying drops to small hiccups. His hands clutch my jacket. He buries his face against my neck. The hall goes very quiet. Someone chuckles, a rough male voice. "Looks like the prince prefers the help," Raphael remarks. Aunt Julia tuts. "Babies are simple. They cling to whoever spoils them most. When he has a proper mother, that will change." The words hang between us like smoke. No one says that I am already caring for him like a mother. No one knows I am carrying the next child in this line. "Beatrice, take Leo to the sitting room," Geraldo says. His tone is calm, but his jaw is tense. "Bring coffee in a few minutes." The conversation flows over my head as if I am furniture. For the next hour, the pattern holds. I set down coffee cups and refill sugar bowls while they discuss Leo's features and how much he looks like the family. When I come close, they lower their voices as if I cannot hear my own name. They talk about how a proper wife will manage his education, his diet, his language. Whenever someone asks where I am from and how I ended up here, it is framed as a curiosity, not a real question. A girl from nowhere, one cousin says with an easy shrug. These jobs pay well. Hard to blame them for chasing easy money. I smile tightly and collect empty cups. My hands move on autopilot. Inside, something coils. Geraldo sees it. He keeps glancing at me, eyes dark, caught between stepping in and keeping the fragile peace. When we pass each other at the doorway, his fingers brush mine, a brief contact hidden by the tray. Later, in the kitchen, he finds me rinsing cups. "I am sorry," he murmurs. "They are worse than I remembered. I'm trying to manage it." "Manage what?" I ask. "Me or them?" He looks away and does not answer. If you're watching this, if you have made it this far into my story, I want to know something. Whose side would you be on if you were standing in that hallway with me? Team Beatrice or Team Romano family? You can decide while I tell you what happened next. Because that night, after the coffee and the greetings and the first round of quiet insults, Nana cleared her throat and tapped her cane on the floor. "Tomorrow evening," she announced, "we will have a formal family dinner. All of us at one table. There is a young woman I wish to discuss with you, Geraldo. A good girl from a good family. I expect you to show respect." The others nodded, already picturing the scene. I stood in the doorway with a tray in my hands and realized I would be pouring wine at a table where my man was being offered to someone else. The next morning came too early. I woke to the smell of coffee and frying eggs and the low murmur of voices below. The house felt different, thicker somehow, like the walls were listening. In the kitchen, heat from the stove fogged the windows. Pots simmered on the back burners. One of the maids chopped herbs in quick, sharp movements. I tied on an apron and joined her plating pastries, checking juice glasses, doing anything to keep my hands busy and my mind off the dinner waiting in the evening. I was sliding a tray of croissants into place when one of Geraldo's cousins wandered in, the tall one from the day before. He wore a sweater pushed up at the forearms and carried himself with an easy kind of swagger. "Morning, cowgirl," he said, reaching past me for a piece of bread. "You stationed in here all day, or do they let you outside once in a while?" His English was smooth, only a hint of accent under it. I stiffened to the nickname, but forced a small smile. "I get fresh air when Leo allows it," I said. "He runs the schedule." He leaned against the counter, watching me spread jam in neat circles. "I can tell he likes you," screamed the whole time. Nana held him, quiet when you touched him. Kids do not lie. He bit into the bread and smiled around it. "So, be from Texas. You have a hat and a horse back home? Or is that just in the movies?" I laughed because not laughing would have made it worse. "No horse. Just dust and bills." "Pity," he said. "I like the idea of our little prince growing up with a cowgirl nanny. Good story to tell one day." The word "our" dug at me. I reached for another plate. That was the moment Geraldo walked in. He took in the scene in one sweep. His cousin half blocking me in, my hands smeared with jam, the too familiar nickname hanging in the warm air. His jaw tightened. The change was small, but I felt it like a drop in temperature. "Luca, are you finished eating, or do you plan to flirt with my staff all morning?" he asked. His tone was not neutral. It carried an edge that had nothing to do with bread. Luca lifted his hands in mock surrender. "Relax, Cugino. We're only talking. She is friendly." He flashed a grin at me, then at Geraldo. "You keep interesting company. That is all. She has work to do," Geraldo said. "So do you." Two more relatives passing the doorway slowed, sensing tension. Their gazes flicked between the three of us. They did not say anything, but the message was clear. They saw how his eyes lingered on me, how his body angled as if to stand between us. I dropped my attention to the counter, heart pounding. This was exactly the kind of attention I did not need. Luca shrugged and pushed away from the counter. "Fine, I will let your cowgirl breathe." He tossed me a wink and slipped out, greeting the ants in the hall like nothing had happened. Geraldo waited until he was gone, then stepped closer. "You should not be alone with him," he said quietly. "I am in the kitchen, Not a dark alley, I answered. And I can handle a few jokes. His eyes hardened. He has a big mouth and no filter. He will say something that makes them look at you differently. They already look at me like I am furniture, I said. What else can they do? He opened his mouth, then closed it again as footsteps approached. An aunt walked in, all perfume and pearls. She nodded at Geraldo, then reached past me to grab a tray from the top shelf. Leave that. I have it, I said, stretching to take it from her. As I lifted my arms, my jacket tugged up and the hem of my knit top shifted. I felt the cool air touch the lower curve of my stomach before I could pull it back down. Her gaze dropped, just for a second. Her eyes narrowed. The tray still in her hands, she tapped her fingers lightly against my side, too close to the place I was trying so hard to hide. Kitchen must be feeding you well, she said with a dry little laugh. Holiday sweets, HM. Careful, or we will have to roll you down the hallway. Heat rushed to my face. I yanked the jacket back into place. Too many Christmas cookies, I joked. My voice sounded thin in my own ears. I will walk it off chasing Leo. She gave me a long look that said she did not quite believe me, but was not sure what she had seen. Then she lifted the tray and swept out the door. I held my breath until the sound of her heels faded. Then I put the dishcloth down before my hands started shaking. The walls felt too close. Beatrice, Geraldo started. I am fine, I said quickly. I just need a second. I slipped into the pantry. The small room smelled like spices and flour. I leaned my back against the shelves and pressed both hands over my stomach. The baby kicked once, as if answering my fear. They would guess sooner or later. They were not stupid. They were only blind because he wanted them to be. I breathed until my pulse slowed, then went back to work. I had no choice. Later that day, I found Geraldo in one of the quiet hallways, away from the bustle of the main rooms. Leo was with a nanny who covered part-time shifts, so we were alone. Light from a side window fell across his face, drawing the tired lines at the corners of his eyes. We cannot keep doing this, I said. The words came out before I could soften them. I'm hiding in pantries. Your aunt is patting my stomach. Your cousin is calling me cowgirl. And tonight your grandmother is going to sit at a table and talk about a woman she wants you to marry while I pour her wine. His jaw clenched. I told you, this is temporary. I'm trying to move slowly. If I lose their support, it affects everything. The businesses, the alliances, our safety. And what about me? I asked. What does it do to me to stand 3 feet away from you and pretend I am nothing? To hide your child under sweaters while they pick out a proper wife for you. You are not nothing, he said. His voice was low and fierce. You are the one who kept Leo alive when he would not stop screaming. You're the only person in this house who tells me the truth. You are carrying my child. Then claim us, I said. Or at least admit that you're choosing them over me every time you ask me to lie. The words hung between us like a stretched rope. He took a step forward. I'm trying to keep both. That is the difference. You wanted to cut them off. I cannot do that. Without them, everything my father built falls apart. That includes the protection you and the children rely on. So your definition of family is whoever keeps the power intact, I said quietly. Mine is whoever stands beside me when the room turns ugly. Neither of us spoke after that. The silence grew thick. Then a small sound broke it. Leo's babble echoed from the far end of the hall. He crawled around the corner, cheeks flushed, one of the other nannies trailing behind him at a distance. He made a beeline for us on unsteady hands and knees, little palms smacking the floor. He reached my boots first and grabbed my jeans, then reached for Geraldo's pant leg, anchoring himself between us. The argument died in my throat. Geraldo exhaled slowly and crouched down at the same time I did. Our hands bumped as we steadied Leo. He giggled and patted both of us like he was making sure we were real. In that small triangle of space with the baby braced between us, it was hard to remember why we were on opposite sides of anything. See, Geraldo said softly. He already thinks we are one unit. We will get there with the rest. I wanted to believe him. I really did. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of tasks. At one point on my way to fetch linens, I heard voices in one of the side rooms. I paused just out of sight. Nana is slipping, a male voice said. Luca, letting that girl carry the air everywhere. People are talking. They say Geraldo is soft now. Another voice, older and sharper, answered. Soft men invite chaos. If word spreads that he hides behind a nanny, rivals will come for him. They smell weakness. You know this. Footsteps. A pause. Then maybe it is time someone reminded him what is at stake, the older man said. I heard the faint buzz of a phone being unlocked, a few taps, then a message sent. My skin prickled. I stepped away before they could find me eavesdropping, but the words clung to me. That night, when I finally reached my small room in the staff wing, I closed the door and stood in front of the mirror. I untied the jacket and let it fall open. My knit top stretched over my rounded stomach. There was no hiding it from myself. Selfish or coward, I whispered. Which one are you? Was I selfish for staying in a house that might never claim me, or cowardly for not grabbing my bag and leaving before they could cut me out? I watched my reflection for a long time, searching for an answer in my own eyes. In the end, I placed both hands over my stomach and made a decision. I would not run. If this family wanted to judge me, they would judge the truth, not the version they invented from the doorway. One day they would see exactly who I was and what I had already risked for their blood. I turned off the light, the shape of my body still clear in the dark, and waited for morning. By the time evening came again, the house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a stage, a cold one, dressed in gold. Downstairs, the dining room had been transformed. A long polished table stretched almost the full length of the room, layered with linen and silver, tall candles burning in straight lines that cast soft light on the crystal. The chefs had prepared a menu that smelled of truffle, herbs, and old money. Bowls of olives and cured meats sat beside bottles of deep red wine I could not pronounce. Every place card was handwritten in looping Italian ink. I helped set it all out. Plates, glasses, folded napkins. My hands moved without thought, but my stomach tightened with every fork I laid down. When the table was finally perfect, I stepped back, only for one of the aunts to sweep in and inspect my work as if she were checking for crumbs left behind by a disobedient child. A moment later, the housekeeper approached me. You will stand by the doorway tonight, she said quietly. Close enough to serve, but not at the table. Of course. I nodded and took my place in the shadow of the doorway as the family began to assemble. Relatives filed in wearing tailored suits, sparkling jewelry, soft perfumes. They greeted each other with kisses, laughter, and the occasional whisper behind a hand. Geraldo took his seat at the head of the table, Leo in a high chair beside him. Every seat filled except one, the one I would never be offered. When everyone settled, Nana Lucia lifted her glass. A hush fell instantly. To the future of the Romano family, she said. To little Leo, our hope for the next generation. And to the paths we will soon open to secure that future. Her eyes drifted toward Geraldo in a pointed way. There is a young woman, a family friend's daughter. A fine girl. Traditional. Respectable. We will arrange a meeting after the holiday. My throat tightened. I focused on the floorboards. An aunt laughed lightly. You know how it is, she said, swirling her wine. Some women think the quickest way into a man's bed is through the nursery. Another chimed in. And men in positions like Geraldo's, they should be careful about certain girls. The ones who see a powerful last name and attach themselves like vines. Everyone looked at me. Not openly, not boldly. Just the flick of eyes from the table to the doorway, where I stood holding a tray. Heat crawled on my neck. I gripped the tray tighter. Geraldo's jaw flexed once, twice. Then he shoved his chair back, so sharply several people jumped. Enough, he said. His voice cracked through the room like a gunshot. Stop talking about her like she's not standing right there, he continued. Stop acting like you know anything about what she has done for my son. None of you sat through those nights when Leo wouldn't breathe, right, or stop crying. None of you cleaned up vomit at 4 in the morning. None of you held him while he shook with fever. Gasps broke around the table. She did, Geraldo said, pointing toward me. She's done more for this family than half of you sitting here. Silence drowned the table. I felt sick, because instead of feeling defended, I felt exposed, dragged into the center of a room I never wanted to stand in. The pitying glances stung almost as much as the insults. I stepped back. Then I turned and walked out before anyone could stop me. In the kitchen, I pressed both hands on the counter and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. The room smelled of roasted vegetables and warm bread, but none of it settled me. My chest hurt. A soft voice came from behind. "You shouldn't let him do that," someone said. I turned. It was Luca, the cousin from earlier, the same one who had called me cowgirl. His expression was quiet, almost regretful. When a man like Geraldo defends someone that fiercely, he said, it paints a target on their back. "You must know that." I swallowed. I didn't ask him to defend me. "That doesn't matter," he replied. "Others will assume you're influencing him, that he's softer. And in this world, softness is dangerous." He left before I could answer. Outside, the snow thickened. Flakes tapped against the large windows like fingers trying to get in. Occasionally, I caught the murmur of walkie-talkies. Security teams moved more than usual. Someone reported headlights circling too slowly near the outer road. Tension hummed like static under the chandelier glow. By dessert, I returned to the doorway, tray in hand. My face felt stiff. I kept my eyes on the tablecloths, not on the faces turned toward me. That was when the air shifted. The security chief appeared behind Geraldo, a broad man with a scar down one side of his jaw. He leaned in and whispered something low enough that I couldn't hear, but loud enough to drain every ounce of color from Geraldo's face. He rose halfway from his chair, voice steady but stern. "No one moves," he said. "Stay calm." The family went still. Through the tall dining room windows, I saw it. A pair of headlights rolling through the snow toward the gate. Slow, silent, too deliberate. My breath caught. The wolves were no longer inside the room. They were coming from the dark outside. The next few seconds stretched and snapped at the same time. Geraldo told everyone to stay seated and calm, but chairs scraped anyway. Forceps plates. Someone started to pray under their breath. I stood in the doorway, fingers clamped around an empty tray, watching those headlights slide closer through the snow. "Beatrice." His voice cut through the noise. I turned. "Take Leo to the kitchen," he said. "Now. Stay low. Wait for my order." The security chief was already speaking into his radio. Two guards moved toward the windows. The room that had felt like a glittering cage a moment ago now looked like a target. I ran to the high chair, unbuckled Leo with shaking hands, and lifted him onto my hip. He sensed the tension instantly. His small hands grabbed at my jacket. His mouth wobbled. I pressed his head to my shoulder. "It is all right," I whispered, lie to both of us. "We are going to the kitchen. Just a walk, that is all." We slipped through the side door as raised voices exploded behind us. By the time I reached the kitchen, the first sound hit. A dull pop, like someone dropping something heavy outside. Then another, sharper this time. The third was unmistakable. Gunfire. It cut through the muffled Christmas music playing from the small radio on the counter. The radio crackled and then went silent. Glass shattered somewhere down the corridor. Shouted commands bounced through the house in overlapping bursts. Positions. North side move. Seal the service entrance. Leo started crying, a thin, frightened sound. I crouched behind the heavy island, clutching him to my chest. Another staff member joined us, eyes wide. The smell of roasting meat and bread felt strange beside the metallic bite of fear rising in my throat. Then Geraldo burst through the door. He carried his own fear the way he carried everything else, locked behind a hard expression. Only his eyes gave him away. They swept the room, landed on me, and softened for the briefest second. "Safe room protocol," he said to the staff. "Basement. Now, move." He strode over and reached for Leo. I hesitated for a heartbeat, then handed the baby over. Leo wailed at the transfer, but Geraldo held him close, murmuring something low in Italian. "Stay with the others," he told me. "You know the way. Get to the safe room and do not look back." "What about you?" I asked. "I will secure the entrance and follow," he said. "Go." Men with weapons filled the doorway, taking positions along the walls, listening to updates in their earpieces. The kitchen, which had felt crowded earlier, now felt like a checkpoint. We spilled into the central hallway, guided by guards shouting directions. The Christmas tree glowed at the far end, its soft lights now sharp against the dark panic in the house. Nana stood at the base of the stairs, cane in hand, her face pale. "Basement, Signora," one of the guards urged. "We have to move you." She did not move. Her eyes were wide, fixed on the sounds of gunfire outside. Another crack. A window somewhere shattered. A gust of freezing air blew through a side corridor. "Nana," Geraldo called, striding forward with Leo in his arms. "You go now." She shook her head once, like she could reject the danger by refusing to acknowledge it. Her knuckles whitened around the cane. Pride and fear warred on her face. A guard appeared at Geraldo's side. "Front gate breached," he reported. "2 vehicles inside the walls. We have eyes on at least 3 shooters." Geraldo cursed under his breath. "Take him," he told the nearest guard, pushing Leo into the man's arms. "Keep him against the far wall, behind cover, and do not let him leave your sight." Leo screamed, reaching for me and for Geraldo both. The sound tore at something inside my chest. The guard obeyed, carrying him toward the basement stairs. Geraldo turned toward the front of the house, gun already in hand. That left Nana frozen under the chandelier with chaos closing in. I moved before anyone asked me to. "Signora, we have to go," I said, grabbing her arm gently but firmly. "Please." The safe room. Her legs seemed to forget how to work. She took one step, then stumbled. Her cane slipped on the polished floor. She pitched sideways. I caught her weight against me, my back straining, the baby inside me pressing down as if reminding me of every risk. Gunfire cracked again, closer this time. The Christmas lights flickered. "Come on," I said, dragging in a breath and adjusting my grip. One foot, then the other. We shuffled forward. Each step felt like wading through wet cement. Nana muttered prayers in Italian under her breath. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear her. Behind us, boots thundered and men shouted. Then it happened. A figure appeared at the far end of the hall. Dark clothes, face half covered, gun raised. For a fraction of a second our eyes met. Mine wide with fear, his flat and distant. The muzzle of the gun lifted, pointing down our direction. Somewhere behind me, Leo screamed. A raw, piercing sound that sharpened everything. I did not think. There was no time for that. "Down," I yelled and shoved Nana toward the nearest doorway. She stumbled through the frame as I threw myself over her. My body covered hers, my shoulder twisting on instinct to shield her head. The hallway erupted. Shots cracked through the air. Wood splintered beside us. Heat seared across my shoulder, like someone had pressed a branding iron into my flesh. Pain flared bright, then washed out into something cold and distant. My knees hit the floor hard. My stomach slammed into the polished surface, and a new panic eclipsed everything. The baby. Somewhere past the ringing in my ears, I heard Geraldo. "Get down," he roared. "Take him down." More shots. A shout. The thud of a body hitting the floor. Boots pounded toward us. I rolled onto my side with a groan. My vision flickered. The world tilted. One hand flew to my belly. I could not feel anything at first, and terror clawed at my throat. "B." Geraldo dropped to his knees beside me. His hand pressed over the hot, slick burn on my shoulder. "Stay with me. Do you hear me? Look at me." Nana," I whispered. "I am here," she said from behind me, voice shaking. "I am here because of you." Leo cried somewhere close, a hoarse, hysterical sound. The guard holding him knelt, trying to shield the baby behind his own body. "Move them to the safe room now," Geraldo snapped. "Clear the hall. Doctor to the basement. We are not staying in the open." Hands lifted me. The motion sent another wave of pain through my shoulder and side. I bit down on a cry. We moved down the stairs, the cool air of the basement wrapping around us. Doors sealed behind us with heavy, mechanical thuds. The safe room was larger than I expected. Concrete walls, emergency supplies, extra cots. It had always been an abstract concept. Now it was crowded with breathing, frightened people. They laid me on one of the cots. A doctor pushed through the cluster of bodies, medical bag already open. Geraldo stayed pressed to my uninjured side, his hand locked with mine. Bullet graze on the shoulder. The doctor muttered, "Check for other wounds." We need to listen for fetal heartbeat as soon as possible. His words floated around me like they belonged to someone else. My world narrowed to the spot under my palm. I waited for any sign, a twitch, a nudge, anything. Please, I whispered to the life inside me. Please move. The device slid across my belly, cold gel and colder fear. The room seemed to hold its breath. Then it came, a fast, galloping rhythm. Strong, defiant. The baby's heartbeat filled the silence like a promise. Relief hit me so hard tears sprang to my eyes. Nana covered her mouth and began to cry openly. Leo, still clinging to the guard, would not calm down until they brought him closer. When his little hand brushed my fingers, his wailing softened to hiccups. The family watched in stunned silence. They had just seen the woman they dismissed as a girl from nowhere throw her body over their matriarch and bleed for her while carrying their next heir. Geraldo bent his head close to mine. "You're out of your mind," he said hoarsely. "You should have run." "I did," I murmured, "just in the wrong direction." A weak smile touched his mouth before he pressed his forehead to mine. Time blurred after that. The doctor bandaged my shoulder and ordered rest. People spoke around me, but I drifted in and out, catching only fragments. 2 vehicles. We stopped one. Some of them escaped over the back wall. Police report will not match what we saw. Someone called ahead. That last part cut through the haze. Inside, the security chief said, the way they hit the gate, the timing, the codes. Someone under this roof gave them the details. I blinked, heavy eyes open. Geraldo's face was grim. "Find out who," he said. Quietly. "I want names." The room seemed to tilt again. Pain and exhaustion dragged at me. As my vision narrowed, I felt a new touch. Nana's wrinkled hand slid into mine and closed there, her grip surprisingly strong. "Rest, child," she said. "We are not finished talking, you and I." Her voice followed me into the dark as I finally slipped under. When I surface again, the world is soft and quiet. The concrete walls of the safe room are gone. I am in a smaller space. Pale walls. A low lamp. The faint hum of some machine I cannot see. My shoulder throbs in a slow, steady rhythm. My throat feels dry. First thought, the baby. My hand flies to my belly before my eyes are fully open. Panic surges for a second, sharp and wild, until I feel it. A slow shift under my palm. A roll, then a faint kick like a small protest. I exhale, shaking. "You scared us," a voice says. I turn my head. The doctor from the safe room stands near the foot of the bed, writing something on a chart. He looks tired, but calmer than before. "Baby is stable," he says, as if he has already answered this question more than once. "Heartbeat is strong. The graze on your shoulder will heal. You need rest. Less stress, less gunfire." He tries for a tiny joke. It lands somewhere between us and falls flat. "Where are we?" I ask. "The in-house medical room," he says. "Safer to keep you here for now than move you through the city. You slept most of the night. Some of the day." "How long exactly?" "About 18 hours on and off," he replies. "I sedated you after we stabilized your shoulder and checked the baby again. Your body needed the break." He finishes his notes and gives me a serious look. "You have to take it slowly, Signorina. No lifting, no running, no throwing yourself between bullets and anyone else." "I will try," I say. No promises. He huffs under his breath and leaves. The moment he steps out, another presence fills the room. Geraldo sits in a chair pushed close to the bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped like he's been praying or trying not to break something. His shirt is wrinkled. Stubble shadows his jaw. There are dark bruises beneath his eyes. "You are awake," he says. "You look worse than I do," I answer. He lets out a breath that sounds almost like a laugh, then stands and moves to my side. He takes my hand gently, careful of the foreline. "I thought I lost you," he says. His voice is rough. "When you went down in that hallway, when I saw the blood. I have not been that afraid since Leo was born, and they told me he might not breathe on his own. You did not lose me," I say softly. "Not yet." He lifts our joined hands to his forehead and holds them there, as if he can press the fear out that way. "I have been a coward," he says. "With them. With you. Hiding you in the staff wing." asking you to lie, telling myself I was protecting you while I stood there and let them talk about you like trash. I stay quiet. He needs to say it. If you give me one more chance, he continues, I am done hiding you. I am done pretending you are only here to change diapers. You are the mother of my children. You are part of my life. If my family cannot accept that, they will be the ones leaving this house, not you. His words land heavy and bright at the same time. I swallow. Geraldo, hiding me did not keep me safe, I say. I still ended up on the floor with a bullet in my shoulder. I still ended up between your grandmother and a gun. If this is the life you are living, I need more than whispered promises in your room. I need my name, my place, not just for me, for them. I rest my hand on my stomach again. He nods slowly. You will have it, he says. I swear it, whatever it costs me. I search his face. This is not the smooth boss voice. This is the man who walked the nursery floor at 3 in the morning with a crying baby and no idea what to do. Then we start with the truth. I say, no more scripts. No more sweaters and staff doors when your family walks in. A knock cuts through the room before he can answer. He straightens. His hand tightens around mine once and then releases it. Come in, he calls. The door opens. Nana Lucia stands in the doorway with 2 relatives behind her, one on each side like a quiet guard. She wears a simple dark dress and holds her cane, but her posture is straighter than it was in the hallway when the shot started. I want to speak to the girl alone, she says. Geraldo bristles. Nana, she needs rest. The doctor said. He also said stress is bad. She interrupts. And I think leaving important things unsaid is the worst kind of stress. Her sharp gaze pins him. 5 minutes, ragazzo. I'm not going to drag her out of bed. He hesitates, then looks down at me. If you do not want. It is all right, I say. I will be fine. He does not like it, but he steps out, closing the door behind him. The 2 relatives remain in the hall. Nana moves closer to the bed. For the first time since I met her, she looks uncertain. May I sit? She asks. Yes, of course. She lowers herself carefully into the chair Geraldo left, cane resting across her knees. For a moment, she just looks at me. Not my jacket or my boots. And my face. I owe you my life, she says finally. We both know that. You were in front of the gun. I answer. I was closer to the floor. That is not what I mean, she says. You could have run. You could have hidden behind the men with weapons. You did not. You put your body over mine, over an old woman who has not been kind to you. She shakes her head slightly, as if she still cannot believe it. I misjudged you, she says. Badly. I do not rush to fill the silence. I let her sit with those words. Tell me about Texas, she says next. About where you come from. I know you're not from nowhere. No one is. So I tell her. I talk about a small town with a cracked main road and a feed store that also sells wedding dresses because there is no other place to buy them. I talk about my mother's illness and the bills that came in envelopes we could not ignore. About my father doing the work of 3 men and still falling short. I tell her how I took any job I could. Babysitting, diner shifts, scrubbing offices that smelled like printer ink and tired coffee. How I answer a vague ad for live-in childcare that sounded like a dream. How I stepped off a bus expecting a rich family with a spoiled child and found men with guns at the gate instead. I did not know who he was at first, I say. Not really. I just knew there was a baby who never slept and a man who looked like he had not slept either. I stayed because Leo screamed for everyone else and quieted for me. I stayed because every time I packed my bag, I thought about my mother's medicine and how one more paycheck would help. And later, she asked quietly, why did you stay later? Because of him, I say simply. Because of the way he looked at his son when he thought no one was watching. Because he came to the nursery after ugly nights and stood in the doorway just to see Leo breathing. Because when he finally let himself talk, he sounded more tired than dangerous. Because he did small things like fixing a broken heater in my room himself instead of sending a worker. He was not just the stories people tell in whispers. I meet her eyes. And I stayed because this house, for all its danger, gave me something I thought I had lost the right to ask for. I add, a family that needed me. A chance to be a mother again. Her gaze drops to my stomach. You lost one before, she says. It is not a question. Somehow she has pieced it together. I lost two, I answer quietly. Before Leo. Before New York. So when he called me Mama for the first time, it did not feel like just a job anymore. She is silent for a long moment. I watch her struggle with something inside herself. Pride, tradition, and the image she has built of what a Romano woman should look like. I have spent my life following rules, she says at last. Our rules. Old ones. Who we marry. Where they come from. What language they speak. I believe that keeping those rules safe would keep the family safe. Then a girl with an accent and cowboy boots threw herself in front of a bullet for me and for a child that carries our blood. Her lips pressed together. Tradition matters, she goes on. Respect matters. But so does loyalty. So does courage. You have both. That is something I cannot ignore, no matter where you were born or how you came into this house. She reaches out and, very gently, lays her wrinkled hand over mine. You carry Romano blood now, she says. That means you're not just staff anymore. You were never just staff. I was too blind to see it. My eyes sting. I blink hard. Thank you, I manage. Do not thank me yet, she says. You and I will still argue. I am old, not easy, but I will not stand by while others treat you like you are nothing. She pushes herself upright with a small grunt. At the door, she pauses and looks back. Rest, she says. Heal. When you are strong enough, you will not be walking up from the staff wing again. This corridor, she taps the frame with her cane, is where you belong now. She steps out and closes the door behind her. Through the thin wall, I hear her voice rise in the hallway, firm and clear. Geraldo, she calls. From now on, the girl does not sleep with the staff. You move her things to the family corridor. Today, she is carrying our future. Treat her accordingly. A shocked murmur ripples through the people gathered outside. In my small bed, bandaged and sore, I lie very still and let the weight of her words sink in. For the first time since I arrived at this house, someone from his blood has said I belong. The words stay with me long after Nana's footsteps fade down the hall. They echo through the quiet of the medical room, louder than any gunshot. By morning, the staff wing door that I have walked through 1,000 times feels like something already in my past. Moving day begins before the sun rises. 2 guards carry my small boxes first. A stack of folded clothes. My worn denim jacket. 3 paperbacks I kept in the drawer beside my bed. A framed photo of my parents that I almost left behind out of old habit. The habit of believing nothing I care about is safe here. One of the housekeepers walks with them, giving me soft smiles as she goes. I follow slowly, arm held close to my side where the bandage pulls a little. The hall leading away from the staff wing feels narrow and dim. But the main hallway, the one I have never walked as anything but an employee, opens wide and bright before me. High ceilings, carved walls, gold fixtures, portraits of Romano ancestors staring down with oil-painted pride. Men with square jaws, women in stiff dresses, all watching as I walk beneath them carrying a small bag pressed to my hip. It feels unreal. Geraldo stays beside me the entire time. His hand rests lightly at the small of my back, guiding but not pushing. On his other side, he carries Leo, who is babbling at a volume that makes several relatives peek from their rooms. The baby's hands wave wildly when he spots me. His joy is so loud, it almost masks the tension in the corridor. Almost. A few relatives come out to watch as we pass. Their faces are polite, stiff, unreadable. One aunt lifts her teacup in a gesture that might be respect or might be mockery. A cousin leans on a doorframe with his arms crossed and smirks like he thinks he knows how this ends. But they step aside. They let us through. By the time we reach the new room, twice the size of my old one, with tall windows and a warm rug, the air feels different. Like something has shifted in the foundation of the house. Leo reaches out for me the moment Geraldo sets him down. I bend to kiss the top of his head and try not to cry. You all right? Geraldo asks quietly. I'm trying to be, I say. He understands what I mean. Later that morning, the entire family gathers for breakfast. A long table, nowhere near as formal as the dinner 2 nights ago, but still grand. I take a seat at the far end, not out of humility, but uncertainty. Before I can second-guess myself, Nana enters. Everyone rises. She sits, then looks down the table toward me. I want to be clear, she says. The woman who saved my life will be treated with respect in this house. She is not staff. She is not passing through. She is part of the family while she heals, and if anyone has a problem with that, they can come speak to me directly. The silence is immediate. Heavy. Cold. She does not use the word girlfriend. She does not mention the baby. But she does not have to. Her tone does all the work. I feel the shift ripple down the table like a wave. Some faces soften. Others harden. When breakfast ends, the hidden resentment blooms in corners and half-whispered conversations. I hear fragments when I walk past the sitting room. She is changing him. This is weakness. Rivals already smell it. Look what happened during dinner. Chaos. Distraction. That is what comes from letting outsiders in. A cousin stops Geraldo near the staircase. You think moving her upstairs makes you look strong, he says. It is the opposite. They attacked because they could see you losing focus. Geraldo does not respond. He simply steps closer until the cousin backs down. People scatter when they realize his patience is thin. Later, after the house quiets, he brings me to the new room. My room now. The bed is made with soft covers. The walls are painted in warm tones. Leo crawls across the rug, as if testing the softness himself. Geraldo reaches into his pocket and takes out a small box. Inside is a simple necklace. A single stone on a thin chain. This is not to replace anything, he says. It is just a promise that I am trying, that I am moving in the right direction. My throat tightens. You do not have to give me gifts, I say. No, I have to give you the truth, he replies. But I can give you this too. I let him clasp it around my neck. His fingers brush my skin and linger there a moment longer than they need to. It feels like the beginning of something, but also a reminder of how much can still break. That night, long after Leo is asleep in his crib beside the bed, Geraldo steps out to take a phone call. I do not mean to listen, but the hall is quiet and his voice carries through the cracked door. Yes, I saw the report, he says. The entry codes changed last week. Only 5 people knew the new ones. 2 guards, myself, my uncle, and my cousin. He pauses. His voice cools, hardens. Find out which one. He ends the call. When he comes back in, he is calm again, or at least pretending. He presses a kiss to my forehead and settles beside me. I lay there in the dim quiet, listening to his breathing steady, but my mind does not settle. Because somewhere in this house, someone fed information to the men who fired those shots. Someone sat at a table with me. Watched me bleed. Watched Geraldo panic. Watched Nanny stumble. Someone who wears his last name. And now I have stepped into their corridor. Their world. Their line of fire. As Geraldo drifts into sleep, I lie awake and stare at the ceiling, knowing this truth settles deeper than fear. My biggest threat may not be outside the walls anymore. It may be sitting across from me at breakfast tomorrow. I was wrong about the timing. It does not wait for breakfast. It waits for dinner. The next evening, the main dining room is quieter than before. Fewer people, only the core of the family. The long table looks smaller when it is not filled to the edge with cousins and aunts, but the tension hangs just as thick. This time, I do not stand in the doorway with a tray. I walk in beside Geraldo. Leo rides in a high chair between our places, banging a hand on the table until someone gives him a spoon to chew on. I sit to Geraldo's left, close enough that our shoulders brush when we move. Some relatives nod in greeting. Some only lift their eyes, then drop them again as if looking at me might commit them to something they are not ready to claim. The food comes in simple courses. Soup, bread, roast meat with herbs. The low hum of conversation never rises to true warmth. I can feel eyes on my necklace, on my face, on the curve of my stomach pressing against the soft dress Nana's maid helped me choose. Halfway through the meal, Nana picks up her glass. She does not stand, but the room straightens anyway. To family, she says. To those who are gone. To those who are here. And to the new life on the way that will carry our name forward. Her gaze comes to rest on me for the last words. New life. No one has said it out loud in front of them like this. The word baby hangs in the air, even if she does not speak it. I feel the heat rush up my neck. Under the table, Geraldo finds my hand and closes his fingers around it. His grip is steady, Not a question this time, but an answer. Around us, reactions ripple. One aunt's eyes widen. Then she recovers with a careful smile. A cousin looks from my belly to Geraldo's face with something close to annoyance. Another relative only nods slowly, like this confirms what he already suspected. To the baby, Nana finishes, and to the woman who shielded me with that child between us. May we be worthy of what she risked. Glasses rise. There is no polite way to refuse that. I sip my water and breathe under all the stares. A little later, plates are being cleared when one of the aunts leans slightly toward me. Her voice is quiet enough that only a few nearby can hear. "Do you understand what life you are bringing this child into?" she asks. Not cruel, not kind, simply direct. I set my fork down. "I do," I say. I have heard the whispers, seen the guards at the gate, felt the floor shake when gunfire hit the walls. "Then why stay?" she presses. "You could take the baby and go back to your country place. You are young. You could find a safer man, a quieter life." I look at Leo, who is currently trying to feed a piece of bread to his own ear. Then I look at Geraldo. His eyes are on me, waiting. I stay because the danger is here whether I close my eyes to it or not. I say, leaving does not erase the blood that already runs in my child's veins. It only leaves them to face it alone one day. I would rather stand where I can see it, beside the people who have already chosen me with their actions, even if their words took time to catch up. She studies me for a long moment, then nods once and leans back. Her expression is hard to read, but she does not ask again. Geraldo clears his throat. The conversations around the table die down. "I want something understood," he says. His voice is calm, measured, dangerous in a way that has nothing to do with weapons. "Beatrice is not just Leo's nanny," he continues. "She is the mother of my son, and of the child we are waiting for now. She is part of this family's future. Anyone who cannot accept that will have to decide whether they still have a place at this table." He does not say the word marriage. He does not give dates or rings or church names. He does not have to. The line he draws is clear. Somewhere deep inside me, a knot I have been carrying for months loosens. Not all the way, but enough that I can breathe without feeling like I am stealing air that belongs to someone else. If you are still listening to me tell this, I want you to remember this moment, because this is the night the house changed. This is the night they stopped pretending I was invisible. The night I sat at his side instead of in the shadows, with his hand on mine and his grandmother toasting the life inside me. I wonder what you think, watching from wherever you are. Are you on my side? On theirs? Do you think I'm foolish to stay, or brave, or some messy mix of both? Tell me which team you are on. Team Beatrice or Team Romano family. I want to know before I tell you what came next. For a little while after his declaration, the dinner settles into something almost normal. Leo throws half his peas on the floor. Someone tells a story about a childhood holiday. Nana corrects two different people on their table manners and complains about the salt. You could almost believe we are an ordinary family. It is only later, when the table is cleared and the dishes are drying in the kitchen, that the next piece falls. We are in Geraldo's study, the three of us. Leo asleep with his head in my lap, heavy and warm. Geraldo stands near the window, phone in hand, listening to whoever is on the other end. He hangs up slowly. "What is it?" I ask. He looks at me, then at the sleeping child. "The security chief finished his review," he says. "The leak did not come from staff. It did not come from guards we hired this year. The codes, the timing, the details about who would be in the house that night. All of it came from someone at that table we just left. He does not say a name. Not yet. I see the images in my mind. Faces laughing over dessert. Glasses clinking. Hands passing bread. Any one of them could have handed our lives to the men in those cars outside the gate. We return to the hall later, after Leo is settled in his crib. The Christmas tree still glows, but the lights are softer now, some of the bulbs dimmed from the long holiday. The house smells like pine and wax, and something metal underneath that never fully leaves. I stand in the doorway again, the same spot where this part of the story began. Only this time, I am not alone. Geraldo stands beside me, Leo heavy in his arms, cheek pressed against his father's shoulder in sleep. Geraldo's free hand rests over my belly, his thumb moving in slow circles like he is soothing both of us at once. I look at the tree, at the hallway where I hit the floor and thought I might never stand again, at the stairs where Nana froze, and where I chose to run toward her instead of away. I survived my first Christmas with his Italian family. I say quietly, mostly to myself, but also to you. I saved the matriarch and earned a room in the family corridor. I lean into Geraldo's side, feeling safer than I have since I first walked through that door, and more exposed than ever. What I do not know yet, I add, is which face at that table smiled at me while planning the next shot. Because someone around us wants this story to end, and they're not finished trying.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.